going to be making baked pasta for my meal. The first thing the recipe calls for is an 8-ounce box of pasta. Mine happens to be gluten-free because my dad's gluten-free. The second ingredient is 2 tablespoons of butter. Then you've got 2 cups of milk. And then after that, 2 tablespoons of flour. Half a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of pepper, and 1/4 a teaspoon of red pepper, and 1 8-ounce shredded sharp cheddar cheese bag. The first step is to bring the water to a boil so you can then prepare the pasta. The pasta is going to cook for about 10 minutes. And then after that, we'll get the rest of it started. Now that our water is boiling, we're gonna add the 8 ounces of pasta and cook that for 10 minutes until it's cooked al dente. While the pasta's cooking, we're gonna start making the sauce. So, in a small pan, you're gonna melt butter over low heat. So, put the butter in there. We'll put heat on low. And we're going to let that melt, and then we'll start adding the rest of the ingredients. Now that our pasta has been cooked for 10 minutes, we're going to drain this, and then we're going to put it back in here and wait for the rest of the sauce to be ready. Since our butter is now fully melted, we're going to whisk in the flour for about 2 minutes until it's very smooth. So we're going to add our flour, and then I'm going to whisk this for about 2 minutes until it's a smooth texture, and then we can go to the next step of the recipe. Now that I've stirred the flour for 2 minutes, we're going to add in the milk and stir that for 5 minutes. I'm going to mix this for 5 minutes, and then we'll come back. Now that this has been constantly stirred on low heat for 5 minutes, we're going to remove it from the heat, and we're going to now take our spices and we're going to add it to that. Mix it right in. And then we're going to whisk that together. And we're going to add the cheese now. I just added the cheese. And now we're gonna mix that together until it's nice and mixed up and the cheese is nice and melted. And then we're going to mix the pasta. We're gonna pour this in the pasta over here after this is all mixed up. And then we're gonna take a baking pan and we're gonna put that in. But before that, we're gonna make the Ritz cracker topping to put on the pasta. Now that this is all mixed up, we're going to add this to the pasta. Get it all in there. Now we're going to mix this all together. Make sure it's all nice and mixed up. And then after this, we're going to spoon it into the baking dish. And then we're going to get going with the topping. Now I'm going to mix the pasta in the baking dish. Mix it in. I'm going to mix it equally throughout the pan so it cooks evenly. Make sure there's no clumps in the with the cheese or anything. Mix it all even. Now we're gonna make the topping. So you're gonna take 1 stick of butter, you're gonna melt that, and then after this, we're gonna add the sleeve of Ritz crackers and mix that together. And then we'll add it to the top of the dish. We'll let the butter melt, and then we can start crushing up our crackers and putting it in the butter once it's out. While we're doing this, we can start preheating the oven to 350 so that can get warmed up and we can throw it right in after we put the topping on the mac and cheese. Our butter is melted. We can start crushing up the sleeve of Ritz crackers, mixing it together, and then we'll spread it out across the top of the mac and cheese. Once the oven's preheated, throw it in the oven covered for 30 minutes, and then we'll take the cover off, and then we'll cook it again for 10 to 15 minutes until it's done. Now it's in the oven, and we'll set a cooking time for 30 minutes. Now that the oven's preheated, we can take the fully finished mac and cheese. We're gonna cover it with this pan sheet. We're gonna throw it in the oven for 30 minutes. Then we'll uncover it, cook it for another 10 to 15 minutes, and it'll be all done. Now it's in the oven, and we'll set a cooking time for 30 minutes. And then we'll start that up. And when it comes out, we'll uncover it, cook it in for another 10 minutes. It'll be ready. In the meantime, we can start cleaning all our dishes and catch up on other things. Now the 30 minutes is up, so we're gonna take the cover off. And then we're gonna cook it for another 10 to 15 minutes. Enjoy.